Hello and welcome back to Sports Talk Radio, where we are joined today by a live audience. This is, of course, your host, PD, and I'm joined today with Ben, Kellen, and Aaron. And our discussion today is going to be who we think is going to win the NFC and make the Super Bowl. Me, personally, I think it's going to be the San Francisco 49ers. They've had their best team for years, and they made it to the Super Bowl last year, just couldn't beat the Chiefs. I think that they already have all the pieces they need, such as running back Christian McCaffrey, quarterback Brock Purdy, wide receiver Deebo Samuel, tight end George Kittle, an incredible O-line, and a defense that is filled with great pieces and studs. I think that they can make it to the Super Bowl. Ben, what do you think about this?
I think that the Detroit Lions will make it to the Super Bowl and win the NFC. I think this because in the playoffs, they almost beat San Francisco. They were this close to beating a great team. They had a big lead. They just blew it under the pressure of San Francisco. And they also have great young prospects like Amon St. Brown, who already proved he's a top 10 receiver in the NFL, and great young rookies from last year like Jahmyr Gibbs. That's why I think that the Detroit Lions will make it to the Super Bowl and win the NFC.
Kellen, who do you think is going to win the NFC?
I think the Philadelphia Eagles will win the NFC. I think this because most of their problem after a poor end of the season last year was safety and just secondary depth in general, and they added that in the draft, adding Quinton Mitchell, cornerback out of Toledo, and also cornerback Cooper DeJean out of Iowa, who are both studs in college, and I think they will massively improve the depth of the Eagles' defense. They also added running back Saquon Barkley, who should help their offense also come to a new level with him being a much better running back than DeAndre Swift, who they lost to the Bears in free agency.
That's awesome, Kellen. Now, Aaron, which team do you think is going to win the NFC?
I think that the Cowboys will win the NFC. The Cowboys already have a great defense with studs like Micah Parsons, Stephon Gilmore, and Deron Bland, who was in the conversation for the Defensive Player of the Year after getting 8 pick sixes. That's amazing for such a young player. They also have a great offense with a top 3 receiver, CeeDee Lamb, a good quarterback in Dak Prescott, and many great supporting players. Although they have been known to fold in the playoffs, I believe that this time is their year, and they'll make a deep run into the Super Bowl.
Thanks for sharing that, Aaron. We will now take questions from our audience. First, you.
Do you really think the Cowboys can improve after that wild card game against the Packers where they lost?
Yeah, I do think they can improve because I think that Dak Prescott can be a really good quarterback at times. It's just the pressure, and I think with more experience, he could become a great quarterback.
You in the Ravens jersey.
How do you think that the Eagles are going to win? I mean, I know they're decent, but last year they lost the wild card against the Buccaneers.
I think that I do agree that they ended the season bad last year, but you look at the start of their season where they started with only 1 loss, and then they went 1-5 at the end of the year. So they were already a competitor until the end of the year. And that was after many injuries occurred. So I think after they added many new star players, and if they can have less injuries, I do think they can compete at a higher level this year.
In the Wrigleyville.
What do all of you think of Dak Prescott?
He's horrible.
I don't think
He doesn't know how to run.
I think he does. I think he's an above-average quarterback, but I don't think he's good enough to bring a team a Super Bowl. I think he's good enough to get a team to the divisional round.
I think that the Cowboys, he's a replaceable quarterback, and the Cowboys should focus on CeeDee Lamb or Micah Parsons. They could get someone like Jimmy Garoppolo, and still he would perform better than Dak Prescott in a system like the Cowboys, where Dak Prescott has somehow managed to completely fail with such talent around him.
I completely agree with that. I don't think he's nearly good enough for how much he's being paid, and I think he's a waste of money for the Cowboys.
See, Ben knows what he's talking
They're paying all these stars around him all this money, and then even thinking of losing him to free agency instead of just re-signing him and losing Dak Prescott.
All right, in Mile High City.
Why do you think Brock Purdy is any good? Why do any of you think Brock Purdy could be any good? He was the last pick. He has no accuracy, and he cannot run.
Well, here's the thing. He was the last pick in the draft, but he still turned out to be good. And we've seen before that you don't have to be a good quarterback to succeed in San Francisco. Jimmy Garoppolo, for example, horrible, but it led the 49ers to a Super Bowl because he had so much talent around him. I'm not saying Brock Purdy's horrible at all. Brock Purdy is still a good quarterback, and I feel like
No, you're saying Brock Purdy's good, and I don't agree.
you don't agree.
No.
Why don't you agree?
He cannot run and has no accuracy.
There are many quarterbacks in this league, such as Kirk Cousins and many Aaron Rodgers, many other quarterbacks who can't run and still have above average careers and are still good. And I'm not saying Brock Purdy's up there, but he's definitely in the top 50% of quarterbacks in this league. And while he may do a lot better in the 49ers system, he's still a good quarterback.
I disagree with you there because I think that if Brock Purdy wasn't on an amazing team with, 7 All-Stars, a great O-line, a great receiving core, and a great blocking tight end, if he was on a team that wasn't good, like Minnesota, I think that he wouldn't be able to perform at all.
Coming from the Bears fan.
I disagree with Mile High there.
Okay, we're gonna wrap this one up. Thank you for tuning in to Sports Talk Radio. We hope you've enjoyed this episode with a live studio audience.